Okay, on my hike to the gym, around 8:30 in the morning, I normally walk along this path. And I guess on the return trip, I'll try and record the whole thing. It's pretty nice out here. We're, a mixture of like commercial, residential, and a small smattering of nature. And since it's mid-November, mid to late November actually, we've got some water in the canals here. The Canadian geese are here, although they're not here at the moment. And almost I lost it. Kind of made it my I wouldn't say mission necessarily, but just my unofficial civic duty to pick up any and all trash that I find on this stretch, and I've picked it up on other stretches as well. And so, and I mean, there might be other people doing it too. Canadian geese are in the distance, usually mixed in with some ducks and whatnot. And there are like cans that have floated up and landed on the berms. We'll call them berms. I think that's a correct term too. But I kind of feel good about doing that. I know before I was saying in my mind, these effers that are putting trash everywhere, F them, and they shouldn't do that and everything and whatnot. That's just like wasted energy, wasted friction that really doesn't need to be wasted on that. It's done. I just want to have a nice clean area to walk here, and the geese too, the Canadian geese, don't know if they care or not, but did notice that there was a plastic bag with some maybe food in there or whatnot, and it had been pecked on pretty heavily. Maybe pecked on, maybe some other animal was pecking on it too or whatnot. But I picked it up, threw it out. So most times when when you're picking up garbage, sometimes you'll find a plastic bag, and I open that plastic bag up, and it might have a lot of holes in it or whatnot, but it usually serves the purpose. And so I feel like you're killing two birds with one stone, as the saying goes. Sorry, Canadian geese. I heard you're delicious. I read up on goose, because goose was in the market, I guess, for people who like to have a Christmas goose on Thanksgiving. And there they are. And it's supposed to taste like prime rib or beef or gamey. So take your pick. Looks like we got a huge contingent of Canada geese, and not too many ducks. I don't know what happened to the ducks. Normally we have like mallards here, lots and lots of mallards. And then sometimes we'll have other ducks, like just they're black and white. And yes, those are the police officer ducks. And you see them here not very often. Then there's, I want to call them Menards, but I'm not quite sure. I heard that they're not as tasty. Oh, why am I talking about ducks and geese? Well, as I was walking to the gym on the first part of this unrecorded hike, I found there was a bunch of people with dogs, hunting dogs, and they had a little tiny hunting blind and whistles and all the get up. And so I guess they're doing hunting dog training. But as you can see, one year in 2023, when there's a lot of water, there was fish here in the canal, in these little channels, and it was really quite cool. Now earlier around this area right here, there was a bunch of garbage. A bunch. And as you can see, there's still like this stuff right here. That is like, I don't know, someone's underwear or clothes or something that they kind of just threw down. And I'll come back later, maybe, and pick that up, because there's garbage cans along here. Problem with picking something up and there's no garbage cans is then you gotta hold it, you know, or have a bag or some shit like that. And some things I've decided I'm just not gonna pick up, like things that look like toilet tissue and whatnot. I'm like, you know what? Until I have something that's much more manageable, I will not pick it up. But this, like right here, it's just a Pokemon card. And I will pick that up. Then I was thinking, well, maybe I could make this like into a money-making business. The pickup, and there's always like a lot of garbage right around here in this mouth that comes down. You know, you want to know why? Because people from the park come down here and just throw shit. Even though there's a garbage can right over there. Even when there is a garbage can, either an animal gets into it or I don't know what goes on. But there's egret in the distance, and this is my garbage can. So it gets thrown out. As you can see, there's some garbage there. There's a soccer field where the kids played at, and also refereed once or twice. And then as we go this way, this path has been here since I've been around. So in 2000, I would say I wasn't really walking over here in 2000, but I'm pretty sure I knew it was here. And then there's the egret. Now, they just look like they sit out there and, you know, what are they doing? But if you watch them long enough, and they're very shy, or cautious, I should say, they will fly. If they see you or hear you too much, they're not like, which is a good thing, they're not human happy or whatever you want to call it. But anyways, he's hunting. Might not look like it. But there are little mice and rats that run around here. So I've seen them pick up like a mouse or a rat or something like that and fly off with it, which is totally awesome and cool. Now I've seen them in the water too, killing frogs and stuff. But as you can see, this area, when first built, they put these little posts with the metal wire there, but it's become overgrown, and so whatever agency has agency over this area isn't doing their job. And usually I think it's contracted to some private company or whatnot, and I don't know, maybe they get paid or who knows. See this, and then, okay, let me point out this beautiful oak tree. As you can see on the base, it's had some problems, and those problems have been due to the homeless people catching it on fire and burning part of it down. So there's that. Since they've been gone, the hawks, they're the small sized hawks, have been around, and they use that tree. They have a nest there, and they also kind of perch on it. Then if you see that poplar in the distance, I'm pointing the camera to, there's a bunch of hawks that live there too. And I don't know if they're like Harrier hawks or whatnot, but you can kind of see some up there. I'm gonna pause right now. So I just had a nice convo with quick conversation with that guy. It's always 50-50 on when you're walking by people in the morning time here. They could be friendly or they could be weirdos. But I'm approaching Lewis Stein Road here, and that Trojan storage area there, it took them, I would say, about a year to build that. And it looks quite nice, although it kind of, it says it's for sale actually, but it also is sort of like, I think, a sign of how much garbage Americans actually have. I mean, they literally have so much shit that they can't keep it in their house and they have to bring it to a storage area. So for me, I think that's like, if you ever go to some people's houses, they just have so much stuff in there. They have like literally their garage and their houses, and they have rooms that you can't even go into, or closets that you can't go into. So they have to rent a storage facility in order to store their crap that they'll probably never come and visit. And so now I make this right turn right here, and I always try to walk on the gravel here, the dirt part, because it seems to be easier on the old joints. And then right here, somewhere along here, there was a full coyote that had was deceased, but he was just kind of like laying up on the rosemary right here. And I didn't see him at first, and I walked by and I was like, holy crap, there's a dead coyote right there.
Good morning.
Good morning, how are you?
Excellent. Have a nice day.
Yeah, you too. And nice guy. Nice guy. So this area is normally grazed over with the sheeps and the goats. I think one year it was like just sheeps, and one year it was just goats. And now it's sheeps and goats. And when they're here, you know, they poop everywhere. They're little poop balls. Not horrible. But every year there's always like some dead sheep. The little baby goats or sheeps, sometimes they die because they're just young and they die. There's a hawk right there sitting on that metal post. It's a small one, but it's definitely a hawk. And they go around here trying to kill the mice. And I thought, what do these birds eat, you know? But it's occasionally you'll see like a kangaroo mouse or something run across the road here, or from the bush to somewhere down here. So they're around. So coming up on this bridge here, there's the bridge over the river, whatever. I don't know what river this would be, or creek. I would call it maybe Laguna Creek, because it's closer to Laguna than Elk Grove. But this was a heavy concentration of homeless people here, and they camped underneath the bridge here. Put fire. They had fires going and all kinds of other stuff. There used to be a tree right around here. I mean, there's another one growing, but whatever service came out and cut it down. They used to have, homeless used to have dogs underneath here. They were chained up. They were pit bulls, but they're chained up, and they would have solar panels, shopping carts, whatever other things that they could kind of find and kind of drag around, they would. And so there was a group that camped on this side and then on this side. And if you look, you can see this sign stuck in the ground here, right there. And that sign says no camping. Camping is illegal. Now, I went down there one day just to look at it, and it's slippery wet. And I slipped and I felt like an old man. Like, what the tooch? But normally, I'm going to be going that way. Normally I go down this way. But since there's so much water still around, it'll be quite hard for me to actually get there and go across without getting my feet wet. My feet are a tad wet right now. And as you can see, there's a little bit more garbage, detritus, that's around here. Not a lot, but enough. And it can be because of the cars going by and or homeless people throwing their shit around. But a lot of it's just shit that comes off the cars, I guess. I don't know for sure. But here's where the trail gets a little bit connected. This is a connector. Now, I've found that if you go on the dirt, you'll slip. Go on the grass, you can slip too. Oh, almost did it. So one of the things to do, as you can see, there's a lot of dew on the grass, is to kind of don't pitch yourself forward, but kind of keep yourself back, almost like a seated position. And you'll do a lot better. So this is the two bridges. You got that bridge there, and then got that bridge there. And the interesting thing is, you'll see people sleeping there, over there, and then you'll see people sleeping over here. And then the big thing right here, you can see, is they've pulled the rocks away so that they can kind of just sleep on the dirt. And they also, you see this huge soot area here, that is them making fires. And if you look on the opposite side, you'll see the same situation. And then you'll see these little mud homes right there. So I don't think that bird actually is the mud hen, wrench, whatever you want to call it, because they've come and gone. I think that's another bird using the mud homes for their own nest. Like it, hey, it's already built, might as well use it. So to my right, we have what I would have called a new development. I think it's been here since, I think they started building it in 2022, and it's completed now. And one of the things I noticed with these homes is there's a real, they didn't do the stucco real well. I don't know how to say it otherwise than you'll see lines and marks and pits, and if it was really done well, it would look smooth. And I think these houses also, when it gets wet or rains, it looks like the stucco is absorbing the water. So there's, in California, at least in this area, I've noticed two different types of stucco on houses. One that when it rains, you don't see any moisture being drawn into the stucco. And then the other ones, like the current house, the first house I had, that's what happened. When it rained, your stucco got wet looking. I thought, that's not right. And then there's the house I have now where you don't see it. So you could take it two ways. And if you look at this house right here, below that big window, you'll see a lot of like staining, like maybe the weep holes aren't right, but you'll see kind of a wavy, level. I don't know if that's good or bad, and I don't know. I mean, I guess you could argue, yeah, if the stucco is not repelling water, but it's letting water evaporate, which I don't know. I don't know if that's a good or bad thing. Or you could say a house where you don't see the stucco having that wet appearance when it rains, that it's trapping moisture in. Or you could say it's keeping the moisture out so it doesn't come into your home. Who knows? But that's the backside of that huge storage facility. There used to be signs up here that said something about being in nature. You know, like don't disturb nature, don't take it out of the area and whatnot. And then they come in here and they just totally destroy nature. You know, you build all these homes, these ditches and canals, water mitigation structures, whatever you want to call it. I don't know actually what they call the official word for it, but you have this one here, and it looks pretty nice actually. But there's a lot of these trees, volunteers, and a lot of cattails as well. And then we have our Canada geese here. And so this is, I'm almost to the gym. Not almost, but pretty much 3/4 of the way, I would say. So I got about 1/4 left. And this whole stretch of land here obviously is not like a protected area at all. So maybe they're just looking for a buyer. And across the road there, that's Bruceville Road, there is actually a big piece of land there that hasn't been developed at all. Who knows why? I don't know. No idea. But as you can see here, this is like a holding area. So I guess, they have parameters, or some type of architect came along and said you have to have water hold in this area, and then they have an area that it goes through over there. And there's a playground in the middle there with a bathroom. When you're walking from my home to the gym and back, you don't have a lot of opportunities for going to the bathroom. So, you have to kind of scout out areas. Now, for the most part, taking a leak for a guy, not too bad. You just find an area where no one's looking, or you hope no one's looking, and take care of business. Now, if it's number 2, it might be a little bit different. If it's a real emergency, when they were doing construction, I would find like one of those construction porta potties and go. Or if you're lucky and the bathroom there is unlocked at the park, you can go there. And in the most extreme case, I have gone in a ditch somewhere. But that's, you're either gonna shit yourself or you're gonna take care of business. As you can see, the populars here are really growing up around the murky edge of this area. There might be an intake or outtake area. Yeah, as you can see, it's just barely, there's some concrete right there. And so I guess there's nutrients. And someone sometimes gonna have to come in there and cut those down, unless that was the plan all along. It is getting a little bit warm, as you can see in my shadow here. I'm got my coat unzipped. I know in other parts of the United States that it's really cold. And I remember when we were living in Osaka, and it was so hot and so humid. The humidity was just crazy high, and it made it hot. And I knew that going in. But knowing something and experiencing things are two different things. So there's the neighborhoods. Look pretty nice. Um, but then I would look at California, Elk Grove, temperatures and humidity and all that. I'm like, oh my God, they got it so good. I'm jealous of it. I have to be over here. And like, so the humidity peak time, you just don't feel the humidity that much here. I mean, I've been living here for a good while, 50 plus years, and I can only remember several times where, I was going to work and I parked my car somewhere and got out of the car and the humidity immediately fogs your glasses. But that's kind of the exception and not the rule. And so, yeah, California has some pretty nice weather, and I don't think you really appreciate that until you don't have it, And so now we're at about the 26-minute mark. If we pan to the right, this all used to be just nothing but a field, of course, and now it's homes. And then this segment of land here in the background, you'll see that building and that building. What, pray tell, are those two buildings with lots of vehicles there? Those are the kidney dialysis centers. So I don't know, I guess you could say, is that something that shows a symptom of the United States? Yeah, I don't know if there's kidney dialysis going on like that, but those are two huge facilities with a fleet of vans to pick people up and do kidney care, and they're called Fresenius. But and I think they're probably open up. They're probably open up. Probably open 7 days a week because when you need dialysis, you need dialysis. You can't wait. But this trail originally wasn't here. It was just a dirt trail, but it picked back up right here, where if you're looking at this little line right here, I think it picked back up here, and it didn't have this leg right here. It just had this leg right here, and there's always a homeless person, a bunch of homeless people living underneath there, which you don't see now. Now this is usually the way I go if I'm feeling chipper, and it almost looks like I could go that way, but when there's a lot of water, it's pretty wet and just not worth getting wet and dirty. But right now I can kind of see that the rocks right here are there, and so I can kind of just hop over there and kind of go up, and it's a gravel road, and there's a big jackrabbit running across. They're still here. And a long time ago, when this was all just dirt and no houses and no buildings or whatnot, there was a coyote that would bark like a dog. Well, there are dogs that would bark and then follow you around, which was kind of exciting and kind of a little concerning. You're like, why is this coyote following me and barking at me? There was twists and turns in these canals and ditches that you could walk through, and the coyote would turn and find the next corner and bark at you. So this is the second spot where the homeless people used to congregate. As you can see, the fiery under areas right here. There'd be a shopping cart down here and stuff and whatnot. But if you look across the area here, there looks like there's an eye that's right here. And I haven't gone over there to take a look, but that thing's been there for weeks. There used to be a black dude that would just sleep on those rocks over there, and I'm like, how can you sleep on rocks like this? It's so uncomfortable. Now, this water pouring out of here, and there's an egret hunting. Good luck, buddy. I don't know if that was meant to be, but it just burbles out from that area. I guess it is because they've fixed like it several times. And then here's another thing. This, I don't know if you can. I can't fit myself, but there's this like wire. I guess it's just a wire that wraps up the cables there, but it kind of hangs down. And I'm like, I don't want to touch that. It might be electrified. But in the distance, you can see this area right there. That's a place that you can do your number 2 if you have to. There was homeless people there, and they set a fire there. Well, however they do it, and it was smoldering. And I contacted the fire department, not the 911 number, because it was smoldering, and I figured someone would answer their phone number. I didn't think it was an emergency, and I didn't want to stand there waiting for them to come, and so I called and I left a message. I might have dropped a pin and said, no, I don't think you'd drop a pin and send it to me. But I got a call back with them, like you know. No, they berated me for not staying there and calling 911. And I'm like, no, I'm not. You know, good luck with that. But anyways, as you can see, this larger expanse of land that's to the right of Bruceville and the Wackford Centers, and way in the distant background there. And it's not been, they have not put homes or shopping centers on there at all for as long as I've been here, since 1992. And I don't know why. I don't particularly care, but it's just interesting to note that still a lot of land that they've done nothing with. They've done absolutely nothing. And here we come on a bag of garbage. It's just kind of like maybe someone that's a garbage area there, and maybe they overthrew the garbage. But yeah, that's, it's like, come on, man. And in the distance, some more Canada geese. I can't say it. These are 3-story apartments. They've been here since I've been here, so for a long time. I think they're called the Laguna Creek Apartment Complex. So you got 3 stories, you've got some garages. They seem to be fairly peaceful. I don't really know. I don't live in said apartments, but I guess if you're moving out on your own and you want to have a place to live, this might not be a bad place to live in. The only downside I would say is that if you're living in that ground floor apartment, of course, you got a person above you and a person beside you probably. If you're living in the middle apartment, I think that would be the worst, because you got someone below you and someone above you. You got the heat coming up. You got the noise from both sides. And if you're on the top, I'm talking the top, you got all that heat rising up to the top of your house, which would be good in the wintertime, but hell in the summertime. And then if you want to have your groceries, your sofa, your anything that you want in that 3rd floor apartment, you gotta carry it up by hand up the stairs. And I'm like, man, no way. That's crazy. So as you can see, there's the office, the whatever you want to call it, where you go sign your name to the rental agreement. And it is called the Laguna Creek Apartments. I think I'm gonna take a look at that and figure out how much it costs, because I've heard some people say it's crazy expensive. And I don't know, I have no idea. But yeah, I used to walk down this way here. Maybe one day on a gym day, I'll do that. There's a guy in the far distance, probably can't see. He's practicing his golf swing. But if you keep on going, you can walk, go right and go in the North Laguna Creek Preserve, that's what they call it. And it kind of skirts along another neighborhood, and eventually you end at Franklin Road, and then you turn back around. I think that is maybe, if you walk all the way there and back home, it's like a 10-mile walk. I don't really know. I haven't done it in a while. But this is the next intersection I have to cross. This walk is brought to you by Laguna Creek Apartments, home of the heron, home of the egret. So usually this road I can cross without pressing the button, and that's my goal. So I have to wait for the cars coming this way, which are clear, and then the cars coming this way, which are not clear. But soon they will be. Soon they will be. I got it. Torin, why do you play these silly little games? Because I like to. I like to. UA Theaters back in the day used to have a lot of cars here, and on Sunday they used to have like some church come here, but I think the church tithed enough money from their members, got enough money from their members to get a permanent home. That's sort of a thing with churches. I remember a long time ago when I was still working, I rode the bus home with this lady whose church was homeless, and she's always really encouraging me to go to her church and get a new member, I guess, and get a little bit more of that money. But they had like a fair amount of money, and they were just looking for a building that they could build in. What impressed me the most was the fact that they had a lot of money. I was like, wow, you guys got a lot of money. And I was like, geez, I guess if you get enough people to tithe, then you'll have that money to buy that building. But yeah, so interesting. I never went. She told me this story about how her husband had had some heart attack or heart problem or whatnot, and that he had retired early or whatnot, and he was into plants, and come over to her house and buy some plants. And I thought, wow, and I had talked to this other elderly Asian woman, Japanese or Chinese, I don't know what she was, and about her, and it was like, wow, she must be really hard up for money because she's trying to get her husband to plant sale going. And maybe that wasn't the reason, but that's just the way I took it. And so I never did that either. I thought it was ridiculous, because she said that when her husband retired, as a gift to himself, he bought himself a Land Rover, and they were making $1,000 a month payments on a Land Rover. And I was like, so you mean to tell me that he's selling plants and I'm supposed to be really like feeling sorry for you or whatnot, buying your plants and supporting your livelihood here, when he's got this expensive car that he's just sold. So at here, maybe I'll film the next time, but the gym's just right there. So later.